On the night of July 15, 2013, a meeting took place in a vacant lot in the suburbs of Boston. Oliver Thompson, a 25-year-old young man, and his gay lover, Jaden Steele, arranged to meet Oliver's parents, Malik and Sophia Thompson, in hopes of ending a long-standing family feud. The relationship between Oliver and Jaden, a black man, sparked fierce opposition from the Thompson family, pushing all four into an irreversible situation. However, instead of a conciliatory conversation, the meeting quickly turned into a tense and hostile confrontation. In the final moments of his life, Malik Thompson uttered words that no one expected, pushing the whole situation into an abyss from which there was no turning back. Sophia, who had always been calm, lost control for the first time, rushing into the fight in an inexplicable panic. When the police arrived at the scene, they found both Malik and Sophia dead, and standing in the middle was Oliver, their only son, in a panic. What really happened in that moment? What dark mysteries lay behind the seemingly simple family conflict? Was Oliver the culprit, or was this just an unexpected accident? And what caused that fateful confrontation to turn into a horrific tragedy? Malik Thompson, 50 years old, is not only a powerful businessman with a chain of luxury hotels spanning across the United States, but also a symbol of success and honor in the Boston upper class. For him, the family image must always be perfect, flawless. Any difference or break with tradition is considered a threat to the reputation he has spent his life building. But behind his strong and determined exterior, Malik is always afraid that everything he has built can be destroyed by a single wrong decision from his only son. It is this fear that has turned Malik into a strict father, tightly controlling Oliver's every move. Sophia Thompson, 48 years old, the perfect woman, Malik's wife and a symbol of elegance and nobility in social events. She is admired for her relentless commitment to campaigns to protect traditional families, but few know that behind that polite smile lies confusion and helplessness. Sophia loves her son, Oliver, with all her heart, but that love is conflicted by the values she has devoted her life to. She has spent years trying to maintain the family's perfect image, but now everything seems to be falling apart when Oliver challenges the values she has always protected. Oliver Thompson, 25, has been the ideal man since childhood, destined to inherit his family's empire. But his heart holds a secret that his parents will never accept. Oliver's homosexual relationship with Jaden Steele, a 27-year-old black man, is something the Thompson family considers unforgivable. From the beginning of this relationship, Oliver has been caught between his love and the unbearable expectations of his parents. His confrontations with Malik and Sophia become increasingly tense, as Oliver hears derogatory comments about his lover and is threatened with being cut off from everything if he continues this relationship. But deep down, Oliver knows that he cannot give up on Jaden, even if it means destroying his life. Jaden Steele, 27, is an aspiring journalist who is not afraid to expose social injustices. Jaden is used to facing hardships, but the hatred and racism he experiences from the Thompson family makes things more complicated. His love for Oliver is not just about feelings, but also about believing that they can overcome any hardship. However, Jaden cannot foresee that the opposition from Oliver's family is not just empty threats. Every encounter with Malik and Sophia is a tense psychological battle, making Jaden more determined to protect his love. But is that love strong enough to overcome the wall of hatred and prejudice of the Thompson family? It all started as a chance but fateful encounter at a media interview about social inequality. Oliver Thompson, the son of a powerful family, never expected that his predestined life would change forever when his eyes met Jaden Steele, a strong and passionate young journalist. From the first sight, there was an inexplicable connection between them, a connection not just between two people, but between two opposing worlds. Oliver, who had lived his whole life under the strict control of his parents, had always been forced to follow strict rules. He knew that the love between him and Jaden would be strongly opposed by his family, not only because it was a homosexual relationship, but also because Jaden was a black man, something Oliver's parents would never accept. But the stronger the prohibition, the stronger the flame of love between them. The furtive encounters, the longing but hidden glances in public, every time together is filled with excitement and danger. They know that if discovered, everything will collapse. But the more that love is suppressed, the more intense it becomes. Oliver and Jaden's relationship is like a sweet but risky secret. Every step towards each other is a step away from the family and honor that Oliver was raised to protect at all costs. Oliver knows that if the truth is exposed, not only will his love be destroyed, but Jaden's future, career, and life will be crushed by his family. But he can't give up, not when every moment with Jaden makes him feel free for the first time in his life. And the biggest question they face is, Can their love survive the pressure of family and social prejudice? Or will it be crushed under the weight of honor and tradition? One day, in the quiet of the afternoon, Jaden and Oliver secretly met at a small coffee shop, hidden in a quiet street of the city. The shop was empty. Only a few people were sitting quietly with coffee in hand, and the atmosphere seemed perfect for a conversation that no one could see or hear. They sat across from each other, their eyes slightly tense but full of the desire to escape the pressure of life. Oliver, not without anxiety, kept looking around to make sure that no one recognized them. Jaden, although also a little uneasy, tried to maintain his composure. But then, in those seemingly safe moments, a strange gaze from a hidden corner caught their eyes. That person, no one else, was Lisa Carter, a longtime acquaintance of the Thompson family, who was very close to Oliver's mother, Sophia. Even though it was just a glimpse, Lisa's eyes were already fixated on the image of the two sitting next to each other, and in a split second, she realized that Oliver was sitting next to Jaden, whom she had heard mentioned with such disdain. Oliver immediately recognized Lisa's presence, and the panic flashed in his eyes. He knew that this meeting could soon become an unsafe secret. Oliver tried to hide his anxiety, but deep down he knew that the worst was coming. A few days later, news of the secret meeting quickly reached Malik and Sophia. That evening, when Oliver entered the house, he felt the tense and stifling atmosphere. Malik stood waiting for him in the middle of the living room, his eyes cold and angry. Sophia sat quietly on the chair, but disappointment and pain were evident on her face. Malik didn't wait long. He immediately questioned Oliver. His cold voice echoed throughout the room. "Why did you meet Jaden Steele?" Oliver, trying to stay calm, lied that it was just a chance meeting, that they were just friends and nothing important. But from his father's angry eyes and his mother's thoughtful look, he knew that they had begun to suspect more than he said. Malik didn't believe him, and Sophia, the mother he once loved, was now like a stranger, questioning his every action, every word. Oliver knew this was just the beginning. Once suspicions were planted, they would spiral out of control. With each passing minute, he felt the family's grip tightening and his future with Jaden becoming more uncertain than ever. Malik Thompson, after learning about his son's secret relationship with Jaden Steele, took no time in taking action. He was not one to accept defeat, and especially not one to allow anything or anyone to tarnish the Thompson family's reputation. Malik's power lay not only in his vast wealth and luxury hotel chain, but also in his extensive connections in the media and politics. And now he would use all of it to destroy Jaden, the man he considered a threat. Malik did not need to take direct action. He secretly sent people to follow Jaden's every move, knowing where he went, who he met, and most importantly, his work. As an ambitious young journalist, Jaden quickly realizes that his career is in an inexplicable state. His sharp articles are suddenly rejected. The editors he once worked with begin to avoid him. Some even bluntly remind him of people you shouldn't mess with. Jaden understands that Malik is behind all of this, and the battle is no longer a simple love affair. It is a battle between power and determination. Jaden, instead of backing down, finds himself facing Malik, knowing full well that this is an enemy that will not be easy to defeat. Malik's every move is subtle and implies that if Jaden does not retreat, everything will collapse. But Jaden refuses to give in. He knows that if he gives up, not only will his love for Oliver fall apart, but he will also lose himself. The war between Jaden and Malik intensifies. Jaden's determination, his courage in the face of a powerful force like Malik, infuriates him even more. Malik begins to escalate the war, not only destroying Jaden's career but also making his life more difficult. With hidden threats, silent but menacing steps, Malik is like a ghost haunting Jaden's life. And this also begins to have a heavy impact on the relationship between Jaden and Oliver. The two are now trapped in a spiral from which they cannot escape. Oliver, despite loving Jaden, also feels the heavy pressure from his family. He finds himself torn between loyalty to his parents and the love of his life. Meanwhile, Jaden knows that if they do nothing, they will be forever manipulated and destroyed by Malik. And then, one tense night, amid promises of an uncertain future, Jaden and Oliver make a decision. They will run away. Realizing that they can no longer bear the pressure from their families, Oliver and Jaden know that there is only one way out: escape. They decide to leave the city, leaving behind Malik and Sophia's harsh judgments and controlling power. Both dream of a new life, where no one can control them or force them to live by standards they do not want. The plan to escape is carried out quietly but hopefully. Each conversation between them is filled with a glimpse of a future free from all constraints. But in the final days before the escape, the atmosphere in the Thompson family home becomes more stifling than ever. Sophia, the mother who always senses even the smallest changes in her son, begins to see unusual signs. Oliver becomes secretive, often avoiding her gaze whenever facing her. Despite Sophia's efforts to press him, Oliver seemed to be slipping further and further from her grasp. Her worry turned to fear. Sophia didn't understand why her son was so distant, but a strong feeling told her that Oliver was hiding an unforgivable secret. Meanwhile, Malik's pride was wounded and his anger was growing more and more determined. He had lost too much in the war with Jayden, and his son's intention to abandon everything to run away with someone he hated only fueled Malik's hatred. For Malik, this wasn't just about keeping his son, it was about protecting the Thompson family honor, something he valued more than anything. He knew that Oliver was up to something, and he swore in his heart that he would do anything to stop this escape. During the long, tense nights, Malik's eyes followed Oliver everywhere in the house. Every step, every gesture was scrutinized. Malik did not hesitate to use every possible method, from following his son to checking his phone. Even placing someone to follow Jayden, he was ready to destroy any plan they were secretly carrying out. For him, this was not just an escape, it was the final battle to preserve everything he had built. As the days passed, the tension rose relentlessly. Oliver and Jayden had to count down the hours, hoping that they would escape Malik's grip of power before it was too late. But what they did not know was that Malik was also waiting for that moment, ready to take action to keep his son no matter the cost. On the night of July 15, 2013, the deserted land outside the city was shrouded in a gloomy atmosphere. Oliver and Jayden, full of hope for the future, decided to meet Oliver's parents, Malik and Sophia, to face the truth and convince them to accept their relationship. Both understood that this was a decisive moment, a last-ditch effort to escape control and prejudice. The deserted land made the atmosphere even heavier, as if foretelling an inevitable conflict. When Malik and Sophia appeared, the tension in the air seemed to explode. Malik stepped forward with burning anger, his eyes full of judgment and contempt. He had long considered this relationship a disgrace to the Thompson family, and he had no intention of listening to any persuasion. Not only did he refuse to accept Jayden, but he was determined to ruin both of their lives, threatening to cut off Oliver's entire inheritance and destroy Jayden's future. Oliver, facing invisible pressure from his father, felt cornered. In his mind, he only wanted to protect his love, but all his efforts were rejected. Malik continued to attack Oliver with angry words, while Jayden stood silently by, feeling the heavy discrimination and resentment from his lover's father. Every moment passed like a psychological war, and the atmosphere became more suffocating than ever. Sophia, standing next to her husband, could not hide her disappointment and pain when she saw her son going against the values that she and her husband had tried to maintain. Although she tried to understand, she was still caught up in the feeling of loss, fearing that the family would fall apart. Sophia's fear continued to increase as she saw Oliver becoming more and more distant and indifferent. As Malik pushed the confrontation to its climax, an inevitable chain of events occurred. He not only attacked with words, but also used force to express his opposition. Rushing towards Jayden in a brief but violent moment, Oliver, unable to bear it any longer, rushed to stop his father. During the struggle, Malik suddenly lost his balance and fell down the nearby rocky slope. The fall happened so quickly that Oliver only had time to see his father's silhouette disappear at the bottom of the slope. When Oliver rushed to his father's side, it was too late. Malik died on the spot, his eyes empty, his life gone forever. Shock filled the air, and before Oliver could recover, Sophia, haunted by her husband's death, rushed at Jayden and Oliver in a panic. She could no longer control her emotions, and in the ensuing struggle, she also lost her balance and fell down with her husband. She died at the scene, leaving behind an unforeseen tragedy. In the quiet darkness, only Oliver and Jayden were left, standing before the tragedy that had just occurred. The two could not believe what had just happened. The tragedy had struck in a short moment, bringing Oliver's entire family into an abyss that could not be saved. After the incident, darkness enveloped the wasteland where the tragedy had just occurred. Oliver and Jayden, standing in the middle of the chaotic scene, could not help but be shocked by what had happened. A terrifying silence enveloped the surroundings, only their gasps echoing in the empty space. The two looked down at the motionless bodies of Malik and Sophia. The images of grief and death before their eyes made everything seem like a nightmare. In a moment of panic, Oliver's mind was spinning. His thoughts were jumbled, and his fear began to overwhelm him. The silence was not just the stillness of the night, but the haunting presence of death. His parents' deaths, something that just hours ago they would never have imagined would happen. But now the two bodies before him were living proof of an undeniable tragedy. Oliver knew there was no turning back. Everything was out of control, and he felt himself sinking deeper into the darkness of despair and guilt. Every second that passed only made the terrible feeling inside him grow. He knew he had to face the truth, that he had inadvertently caused his parents' deaths, but how could he face such a painful reality? After a moment of frozen silence, Oliver decided not to run away anymore. He pulled Jayden out of his panic, and in his last semblance of clarity, Oliver pulled out his phone and called the police. He confessed everything, detail by detail, from the encounter to the tragic death of his parents. His voice trembled and he could not hide the pain that was invading his soul. When the police arrived, the flashing lights of the police cars broke the dark night. Both Oliver and Jayden stood silently, overwhelmed by helplessness and guilt. They did not resist, did not say anything more, just silently watched the police approach the scene, examining the bodies of Malik and Sophia. The two boys were handcuffed and taken to the station in haunting silence, each step weighing down on them with the weight of what had happened. In the cold interrogation room at the police station, Oliver sat there, his eyes lost in the distance. Everything was over, no family, no future, only the haunting memory of his parents' deaths and the decisions that led to the irreversible tragedy. Jayden sat beside him, his heart broken by what had happened. They knew that from here, both of their lives had changed forever, with no way out and no way back. The investigation and construction phase became a major focus of attention, attracting not only the media but also public opinion. The secrets and strong resilience of the Thompson family began to be exposed in the light of the investigation. Warning, through the interrogations and evidence collected, quickly discovered that this was not just a glitch leading to disaster, but the result of long-term accumulated stability. In the months leading up to the project, Malik not only strongly opposed the relationship between Oliver and Jayden, but also took decisive actions to separate them. From electronic documents to the testimony of close people, the truth gradually emerged. Malik, with his conservative and powerful personality, tried every way to control his son's life. He was even a follower of Jayden, putting pressure on his career, promoting the harmony of the future of both. These actions have put Oliver in a state of paralysis, forcing him to face an endless psychological battle every day. In the trial, all the stress and pain that had been pent up for months was exposed to justice. Oliver, although he had no intention of killing his parents, the danger of emotions in the decisive moment led to his being charged with manslaughter. The image of Oliver standing before the horseshoe, his eyes filled with pain and hatred, moved many people. The court, after considering the mitigating circumstances, sentenced Oliver to 15 years in prison. All eyes in the courtroom turned to Oliver as the verdict was announced. But deep down, he knew that the real sentence he faced was not only the punishment of the law, but also the silent image of his parents' deaths, a burden that would follow him for the rest of his life. Jayden, though not directly involved in the deaths of Malik and Sophia, cannot escape the consequences of the project. He faces a heavy emotional burden as he witnesses his love being destroyed by social structures and the hatred of the Thompson family. Jayden not only loses Oliver, the person he loves, but also suffers the pain of looking back on the journey they have traveled, a love torn apart by differences in race and social views. The conclusion of the case is not only a legal sentence for Oliver, but also a clear proof of the destructive power of social prejudice and family pressure. The tragedy of the Thompson family is a warning of the consequences of unresolved unrest. The relationship between Oliver and Jayden, once a symbol of love and the desire to be true to oneself, eventually becomes the trigger for an irreversible tragedy. Prejudice, race, and conservatism turn a passionate love into an inspiring story where no one really wins.